Okay, thank you so much, Fiona. It's really great to have this chat and great to set up our partnership. It's really exciting. So just to kick us off, can you let us know kind of how you got onto the subject of role models, how you became interested in it?
So through my work over the years, so over the past 20 plus years, I've been a psychologist, and one of the core things I've done is profiling people, which is in depth for our conversations, where I go through their life to see what their strengths are, what their drivers are, their passions, their values, areas for development in the context of a work environment. And the thing that I've seen time and time again is that all of these people have had significant members of family or a teacher or someone who has believed in them and enabled them to get to where they are today. And when I say these people, most of them are very successful in their field. So they're people who have thrived, if you like, through that experience. And so through that, I just started exploring that more and came to all sorts of different pieces of research and ended up pulling it all together from a sort of a science-based perspective.
Amazing. And yeah, it's obviously something that we've based our work around, role models, but understanding the research and the science beneath it and really in depth is really useful. So yeah, what does the science tell us about the importance of role models?
So again, I think it's something that we think, oh, it's obvious, but it's not, which is everything that we learn that's not written down, we learn from other people. And the way in which we learn that is through mirroring something in the brain called the mirror system, which mirrors visual things, but also auditory, emotional, touch, everything that it means to be human. So if you think about it, for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, it's the only way we could transfer knowledge was through storytelling and watching and observing and learning and listening. And in effect, that's the same today, except for when it comes to cognitive learning. But we kind of forget about it, and we think, we take for granted that we have empathy, or we can connect with other people, or we can speak a language that we're brought up in, but all those things have to be learned.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's interesting. And actually the next question is, who were your role models growing up? But actually I'd also be interested to know, did you recognize them as role models, or was it kind of one of those underlying things?
It is interesting, because I don't think I can claim to have said they were my role models at the time, except for potentially my brother, who's 5 years older than me, who I absolutely adored when I was growing up. And so, you know, whereas other girls might be putting on dresses, I was climbing trees because, you know, I had a big brother, and I was doing all sorts of tomboyish type things. And so I think I've always recognized the impact that he's been having on me. But both my mum and my dad, but also my stepmom and my stepdad, and not only them, actually friends as well. So even people that I'm friends with till to today, but I can look back and think about how they influenced the way I interacted or the way I understood the world. No, I didn't recognize them as role models at the time, but I think looking back, it's interesting that those are the core people. And when you ask anyone, and you think they might come up with some sort of like icon, most people will reflect for a minute, and it's their parents or a relative, a grandparent or someone like that, who's been the person that's most influenced them.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I guess that's maybe partly the work that we want to do for young people that might have backgrounds where they don't have that role model, to find almost a replacement or lots of replacements that can kind of fill those gaps maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely critical, because without that foundation, it's really hard to then get the academic achievement or to see a path through life, other than sort of falling into a gang or falling into difficult situations that aren't going to let anyone fulfill their potential.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you've spoken about quite a variety of role models there for you. So is your view that anyone can be a role model, or does it take a particularly successful or career-driven person to be a role model?
Well, as you know, I work with very successful people. So the people that CEOs, people at the top of their career in various different walks of life. And I would say no. Firstly, often the people I work with at that level don't even realise they're impact as a role model. But secondly, we are all role models. So we are all impacting everyone around us all the time. And if you look at the people that have the most impact, it's the people that we connect with, who we trust, and who we see the most of. And so while those people are helpful in that they might say, oh my goodness, there's Michelle Obama, great. She's a female, she's in a senior position. People sometimes find that gap between where she is and where they are hard to comprehend how to get through. However, it does give hope, and it does provide inspiration, and it might provide the spark that says, that's what I want to do, that's where I want to go. And then people can find other ways through. But it doesn't provide that close nurturing that's needed to really enable someone to fulfill who they are, to fulfill their potential as who they are.
Definitely. And I guess, yeah, like you say, it could be that initial inspiration, but then to try and find someone who's a closer, relatable role model that can lead you there, I suppose, is also important.
Very important.
And what would you say to kind of schools or teachers that think role models can only be successful people or people that did well at school?
I can completely understand where they're coming from with that, because there could be, fear if there's a role model, someone that's been successful but they were naughty at school, does it just encourage that behaviour more? But I think the important thing is well, there's something called the homophily effect, which basically says just by brain chemistry, we're more likely to mirror someone who is like us. So if you take someone who's too far removed from that person, it won't actually provide the mechanism that we're looking for. If you provide someone, even someone that's been, so we use the example of naughty at school. So say you've got a 23-year-old who was really naughty at school and he's doing okay now. They, if they're trained properly, can be even more powerful, because there's something known as counter mirroring. If they explain, I did this, I didn't try as well in my GCSEs as I should, I really regret that now. God, I wish I'd done A-levels, I wish I'd stayed on. That is far more powerful in many ways than the CEO or someone saying, this is how I did it and this is where I got to. So it's not just about the mirroring, it's about understanding this mechanism of counter mirroring and learning from other people's mistakes, but also the need to connect.
Yeah, I often find that is the most powerful part of a talk that a former student will give, is the challenges they faced and how they overcame them. And, anyone from your former school, I think, is relatable just from that shared experience, but narrowing that down further to those more relatable characteristics, I think, can really help.
Absolutely.
So how do you think role models can help young people to develop their emotional intelligence? And how do you think that can ultimately support young people's well-being?
It's absolutely critical. We cannot, so there's more and more research that shows that we literally do not develop empathy without interaction with other people. So we're not just born with empathy. We're born with the potential for empathy. And empathy is one of the foundations to emotional intelligence. To build social and emotional skills is also critical. There was a government paper that was carried out with UCL, which shows that building those skills improves mental health, improves physical health, improves life outcomes, improves potential salary moving forward for those children. But the most important bit is this mental health. And one of, there's a load of reasons why we're suffering from poor mental health as a population, and our children are. But one of the most effective and natural ways of countering that is to provide the connection with someone face to face on a frequent basis that enables them to learn without even realizing that's what they're doing. They're learning these social and emotional skills, which basically improves their empathy, improves their emotional intelligence, and really, really serves to bolster their emotional resilience.
Absolutely. I think there's so many varied benefits there, even if it's not conscious. It's all of those underlying kind of outcomes of just that interaction, I suppose. So obviously moving forward, but yeah, we're really excited to be partnering with you. So what do you think this partnership will kind of lead to? Why do you think it's important?
I mean, I feel like it joins up the dots between the powerful work that you guys are doing. It brings in the next 2 layers of mentors or role models, if you like, so there isn't that massive gap between the CEO and the kid at school, because there's the mentee, the mentor, alumni, then there's the maybe managers in organisations and the leaders. And that's because I've worked predominantly with leaders. The other thing is I can bring the learning that I've had through basically the privileged few, and I'm not saying the privileged because they were interacting with me, but in that they have that one-on-one occupational psychology. How can we make you the best of the best of the best? Why shouldn't the young people get that as well before they even start their careers? There are some really simple mechanisms that we can put in place to benefit them. But it also creates this cycle from the top through to the next level, through to the next level, and down to the children. And whenever I talk to leaders in corporates about what we're doing, our work, they get so excited. And so I think there's this massive potential to actually create a movement through everyone's pent up energy. Everyone wants to do this. Everyone wants to enable people to fulfill their potential. Everyone wants to fulfill their own potential, and we can do that, but we have to create the sort of join the dots to make it really, really powerful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, like you say, there's so much potential and people that want to support, and it is just joining those dots and providing those benefits at all stages, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Fiona.
Thank you, Joy.